The COVID bite is happening, and what's happening in real estate? We're managing $3.5 million a month in rents, 1,650 tenancies. What's happening out there with rental arrears, residential and commercial? Stay tuned. We'll tell you.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Morning Minutes. Myself, Michael Burgio, Mark Novak, episode 541. This morning, we're going to talk about the reality of the rental market, more on the back end. Customers can always see how many listings are on realestate.com, the pricing. But at the moment, there are big concerns about basically, we're hearing a lot about just how struggles out there, earning income, JobKeeper, unemployment. So how is that affecting bills being paid for landlords by tenants? Because that information's not out there. A lot of investors, especially in the commercial market, are basically not buying a property because their attitude is, I've had it before when I was putting something to the market, 7% return. They go, what's a 7% return doesn't mean anything if they don't pay rent, if they don't have to pay rent. I'd rather just keep the money in the bank. That's what we're getting in commercial, residential. Let's talk about it, Mark. As you said in the intro, we have a huge, basically, pool of data to look at from the management we do of houses, apartments, and commercial property. And hopefully with we can shed some light on what's going on at the back end. And maybe if you're looking to buy, can steer where you're looking. If you own a property and maybe you're being told one thing by an agent as an excuse that your bills aren't being paid. But let's hit the ground running. Mark, residential.
Good morning, Good
morning. How good's that little monologue? I'm getting like a news anchor. Boom, boom, boom. I've been watching too many news anchors.
Yeah.
That's the angle. Lara Ingram, Fox News.
Yeah, look, it's I think the bottom line, and you wouldn't really have I guess the benefit of dealing with a company like ours is, and real estate agents, is that they sort of get to amass all of the information and put it all together and serve it up to you. And the bottom line is that we're managing a hell of a lot of tenancies, residential and commercial, and people have been pretty good and honoured their commitments. So people have made, commitments to their residential lease and their commercial lease, and they've actually been pretty good. I think there's been help from government. There's been help from people understanding that they need a roof over their head and they need to keep their business running. The actual numbers we'll run through as well.
Well, let's go through it. Residential, 50% of tenants paying rent. Let's sort of give people a ballpark. It's 30% paying rent, 80% paying rent. What do you reckon is paying full rent, and then what's discounted? What percentage of full rent, nothing's going on, in sort of your opinion, what you assess, and then how many is on a deal?
It was really different to this COVID for residential. So the first COVID, there was a lot of tenants that put their hand up to the tune of probably about 15% of our tenants to 20% of our tenancies for our landlords. Now, the people that actually qualified back then was less than 5%. So that were people that actually could qualify to be to get the discount, any discount. This time it's different. So this time with residential, not many residential tenants have actually put their hand up. Not many have actually. Most of them have just have met their commitments of their lease. I would say probably out of about the 1,300, 1,400 of the residential, there would probably be under 25 to 35 that have qualified and have been granted. Undisputed, as in the landlord just won't agree and the tenant just won't agree on a number. None.
Yeah.
So most of the tenants have actually just said, "Yep, look, fair enough, understand. Thought I'd ask," or the owners have actually acknowledged, recognised the industry, the differences in pay, discount. Not many, considering there's such a large cross section.
Which is a big takeaway just from at the beginning, no one knew what was going on. No one knew what they could get away with. No one knew if it was going to be free money. So everyone was thinking, government's going to back us. We're in a pandemic. I won't pay my rent. The landlord will get some sort of deal at the end. No one, basically, everyone wins. And then so there was a bit of that going on. Then there was people going, well, let's see who don't care about the landlord. Let's see if I can be given this because of the circumstances. So a lot of that happened, and a lot of good agents, especially us in particular, it was just show us evidence. It wasn't like, hey, I need a discount. No problem. Done, sir. How much would you like off? So that didn't go on. So a lot of people obviously don't want to come back for it. And when you think we're basically from that to when we had this surge, we're almost 8 to 12 months on. So a lot of people adapted their life. They got new jobs, they got new income, so a lot more stability, because there were a lot of people who just got hit hard. No retail, like hospitality's gone, and that's a big section. Now those people may be in retail or other industries that are doing really well. So I think a lot of people, they weren't panicking this round because they've already made those adjustments. So landlord, it's pretty good. That's really good. And
for residential.
Yeah. And also you got to keep in mind, the reason it's good as well is tenants know if they don't pay, they can get the boot, the property gets re-rented. They got nothing to hold on a landlord. A landlord would be like, you don't want to pay, you don't qualify, get out. I'll find a tenant in 2 weeks for the same rent, if not more. So tenants, at the beginning, we all thought the market would shit itself, nothing would sell, nothing would rent. And I think tenants had a bit like, they're not going to be able to get anyone for the property. It's just not the case. We're leasing 34 properties a month, which is on par to normal, and we're selling. And they're selling like crazy. So I think that on that residential side, they don't necessarily, rightfully or wrongfully, they don't have that leverage to put on a landlord. Come to commercial.
Yeah, and just before we finish on residential, I think people made their adjustments last year. I think people, if they had their bum hanging out with a rental, they'd overextended themselves on a rental, or they needed something bigger. I think all those shifts, all that churn happened last year. So I think people have actually positioned themselves well this year, financially and property wise, in order not to make big waves this last COVID lockdown. So people are just being more settled in residential.
Now we come to commercial. It's not. There's a few sections here. It's very different for landlords. For one, two, tenant requirements are different. The actual market itself for commercial is different. It could take up to a year to find a tenant. So landlords weren't in the same position as tenants, where it's like, hey, you leave, I'll find someone. Also, some businesses were properly closed, and a lot of tenants sometimes are a lot more likely employees, so they can find other jobs, so they can be a bit more versatile. That door closes, another one opens. But for commercial, that's their business, that's their sole income. There's no one paying them. They can't just one day start somewhere else. They can obviously take up another job, Woolies or anything like that, but that's their bread and butter. An employee, some bosses like yourself kept paying us all the way through. Other bosses, they could just find, like, an employee has someone to ask for besides the government. If it's your business, and a lot of the time the help from the government wasn't there and wasn't good enough, especially for food people, it was a very, very different story. It was a very, very different conversation with landlords, where if we had 40% ask for help, probably 40% qualified for it and were hemorrhaging. And it wasn't like I could get, like, a lot of people got it really good in residential, where they were only working 2 days a week, getting a couple hundred, they got $750. They'll get more. Commercial, their turnover could be $5,000 a week. They got a couple grand profit to pay bills, and all they got was $750. It didn't even cover anything. So it's very disproportionate. So, Mark, run us through your observation of the commercial management pool we have there. Is no one paying rent?
We're managing sort of 200-300 odd prospective tenants, companies, and stuff like that, 300 odd. And with that, probably about 3/4 of them have asked for rental relief. So compared to that residential, it's 75%. Compared to the sort of 3-4-5% in residential, it's so much more. Now, people that have qualified for it, there's probably, so breaking that down to numbers, there's probably 24 of tenants that have actually made a qualification. And owners have said yes, and owners have said yes. Probably in limbo, there's probably another 50 at the moment. So, and there's a couple of no's in there that they're both parties have sort of walked away. But I've got to be really compassionate with these guys because, some of our friends and family, not that we manage, but that have been affected with their businesses and commercial tenancies. And the two common things that I hear is labour is really hard. So these businesses, different to Code 1, these guys are finding it so hard to find workers, and the workers are so expensive. It's just not becoming economical any longer. So kitchen hands, just people to labourers, it's just really hard to find staff and really expensive. The second thing I hear is that their tanks are empty. So if they did have a backup plan or backup money or a pot, they've exhausted that pot last time. So coming around to rental arrears this time, it's probably a bit more chronic for the people that were affected, again, for a second time in a row.
Yeah, because just apart what you said about labour, I've spoken to a builder yesterday. They're really struggling at hospitality, and basically immigrants, travel visas, all these visas who we kicked out of the country really early, which I get why. We want them to be on their healthcare system at their home, but you know what it was. But we crippled the industries that are hurting the most, the construction and hospitality. Like I was speaking before, if they want a job like landscaping, moving stuff around, they had people they can just be like, yeah, we got 20 immigrants. We can get them there, bang, day in, day out. But now people are wanting insane amounts of money, all contracts, long serve, everything. And the guy's like, we can't pay you $50 an hour, $80 an hour when we used to pay 20. We can't do the job. It's
nuts. And,
we took out
and get your kids out. Get your kids out to bloody work, guys. Like, I've got that arm wrestle on a personal level at home with Lise, and I'm with my 15-year-old. So I'm saying she should go get a job. Like, she's at 13, 14, 15. I was working at 12 and 9 months. You should go get a job, and it's not just for your kid to go out and actually learn skills, but the companies, the delivery companies, the whatever, they need workers at the moment. And on the flip side, that's not how we're being brought up now. So, Lisa, on her side of things, saying, mate, it's all about her education. Leave her alone and just let her be a great kid at school and study, and that's it. Leave her alone. So it's much more challenging for businesses to pay rent at this stage for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah, no, the best education you get is working. I look at what I learned working at Domino's from when I was, 12 or 13, managing a store at 13, 40, 50 staff. I learned more there than I ever did in school. So it's great for the economy and the business, but the real education is real life. So I think get them working. For one, as Anmar says, cleaners, majority of immigrants are students, 100% right. Like, that was a necessity. So people are struggling there as well. what that was the second point you touched on as well. You said labour. What else? What was your second point, Mark, for commercial?
Having the pot from they used up a little bit of money. A lot of our tenants have said, look, we were okay in COVID one. We sort of had a backup plan, but we've used the bloody backup plan in COVID one.
Business owners are proud people. They've started their own company. They don't want handouts. They want to do it themselves. And that when shit hit the fan the first time of COVID, they were just like, we're going to knuckle down, do what we can. We're going to pivot. And they didn't necessarily ask for help. They would just head down, bum up. But the help didn't come. Like, they didn't ask for it. But like the time when everyone was thinking it's going to be a month, it's going to be 2 weeks, it's slow spread, all this stuff, people were like, we're going to knuckle down. But unfortunately, they dug into their savings, they capped out their loans, and then they get to, oh shit, now I need help. Obviously, if we knew things in hindsight, they would have asked for it for day one. We would have worked something out, but you only can do what the advice, there's no fault there. It's just they're proud people. They want to do it themselves and not handouts. And then now the handout isn't even really there. Landlords are copying it. It's a bit of a bloodbath.
Yeah, but on a positive note, Virgil, I think if you're considering buying an investment property, and you're considering buying residential, definitely don't be worried, because the numbers that we're seeing across our portfolio, there's tenants are keeping to their commitments that they've made to their landlords. And certainly on commercial, majority are keeping to the commitments in most parts that they've made to their landlords. And but it just goes to show, Butch, if you want to be a commercial landlord, you've got to have a little bit of fat in the bank as well.
Agree. And I think that's a wrap. So, Anmar, Luke, thanks for watching. Everyone really appreciate it. We had a great show yesterday with Michelle and Michael. That's had great views, and that was really good.
Went to Forbes.
Went to Forbes, did a little street view, got real tech savvy, so I loved it. But yeah, anyone else wants to come on the show, talk about their business, especially if it's not real estate related. Love to have some businesses talk about their experience through COVID, how you got through, labour. Wouldn't mind having some hospitality, some construction people on. So reach out, DM us. We're always happy to share the spotlight.
Big time.
Thanks, everyone.
See you, legend. Go Forbes.